Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
Welcome to Talking Horror with Jamie and Nikisha.
Hi, I'm Jamie.
And I'm Nikisha, and this is Talking Horror with Jamie,
And Nikisha.
where we share our love for spooky things and talk horror through the lens of human behavior. Welcome, everyone. And one would say this is the best day of the year
Woo!
because it is Halloween. This is Halloween. Everybody make a scene. Make my little Stuart yoga.
Dance, dance.
Dead, Stuart, dead. This is all the reason why everyone should be following us on YouTube as well, so you can see my little yoga skeleton that I got from Bed Bath and Beyond in the what section, Jamie?
The Beyond.
The Beyond section. His name is
Ooh.
Stuart, and he's dancing because it's his favorite holiday. He loves it. Like Linda says in Bob's Burgers, the bats are all happy because it's Halloween. It's their favorite holiday. Fantastic. So this is our Halloween hoopla episode. Sounds like a lot of hoopla for the Halloween as we discuss some of our favorite movies that get us into that spooky, spooky mood, and some of our costume favorites, and some of our traditions that we do on this Halloween. So listen to this episode and maybe drop some of your favorite things that you like to do on Halloween on our social medias. You can follow us on all of the Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, and now us on YouTube. I think Brian was supposed to say all those things, but I said those things.
No, it's great. It's at Talk Horror Pod. This is producer Brian. Happy Halloween. It's at Talk Horror Pod on everything Nikisha just said. She knocked it out of the park.
Woohoo! Well, let's get into it because I'm excited to share my Halloween things and I'm excited to hear y'all's. But first, I heard from a little birdie called social media that you guys went to Salem, Massachusetts. So please tell me about that experience.
Indeed, we did. Well, you didn't just hear from social media. I think we told you.
Actually,
Um,
yes, you did.
but we posted about it on social media. And yes,
Yes.
the rumors are true. We did
Yeah.
go to Salem and it was awesome. And we went during September, so it wasn't like full, haunted season. However,
Mm-hmm.
it was still very fun. Super enjoyable, still like pretty busy for September. I can only
Oh, okay.
imagine like October and Halloween are nuts, a la like Mardi Gras, New Orleans, like
Yeah.
New York on New Year's Eve, like stuff like that. Like that's what I feel like is the vibe here. And I feel like the city really welcomed us with open arms.
Open spooky
Saw lots of,
arms.
yeah, their spooky arms, their
Yes.
witches brooms. We Man, there are so many cool shops and stuff. We went into like every single witchy shop, of
Mm.
which there are many. And like when I say witchy shop, I mean like if you are like a practicing witch, bruja, Wiccan, whatever,
Oh.
they carry like everything. And this was like between crystals to dried flowers to like herbs to candles to tons of literature and books.
Mm.
The inner like wannabe witch of when I was a little kid was like just so thrilled and excited.
Oh,
Everywhere was
yay.
doing tarot readings, and some of the places were super busy,
Mm.
like offering readings and like people waiting in line. So it was like it was popping off in the early
Okay.
season. Um,
What was a highlight experience for you? Like a number one, oh my gosh, I would do this every time if I visited Salem every year.
I mean, definitely walking around the shops. We went into some of the museums. For me, I would say one
Mm.
of the highlights was we went to the Witchboard Museum, aka
Ooh.
Ouija Board Museum.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ooh.
yeah.
Um, oh my god, it was super cool. It was cool to like learned more about the history of Ouija boards, which I knew some of it because I had listened to a podcast that kind of talked about the
Mm,
origin of evil. Not so evil that the prequel would have you think, but
okay.
it's not. Based in a time period where like there was war, lots of people were dying, and being able to like kind of have an opportunity to talk to your loved ones was
Oh,
like a source of peace
wow.
and comfort for a lot of people. So
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
that's kind of how it gained its popularity. Um, but it was just really cool to like you walk into, well, there's a shop in the front, of course, but when you walk
Mhm.
into the back room, it's just like filled with Ouija boards all over like this entire back area, all on the walls, in display cases, all kinds of like themes. There was one that was like, obviously it was girl themed and it was all pink and it was like asking questions the girls really want to know answers to,
Oh
which
gosh.
cracked me up. But that one just like stood out to me. Also, apparently, I overheard like the guy in the back who's explaining it say that like people just come into the shop to like use a Ouija board that's like in the back, just like it's like
What?
available for use. So people are just going in and like asking it questions, I guess. But it was really fascinating. We learned that some people wrote some books
Mhm.
using Ouija boards. I don't know if Brian remembers any of the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. And there was a guy back there who just like, you can ask him any question, and some of the stories he did tell us were, he would tell you good stories and bad stories. Like people like Mark Twain has technically written books after his death, like through a Ouija board. And that
What?
Ouija boards, started getting a bad name because that's how Reagan was possessed in The Exorcist. It's in one like small tiny scene, and
Mm.
that kind of turned the
Oh,
tide
right.
for Ouija boards in general. And now they're seen more in like horror movies than remembered as something a little bit less nefarious. But it was really cool to see all of them. They had one of the oldest Ouija boards that were actually printed and sold. Um,
Oh god.
it was some spooky stuff. It was really good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's very spooky. I will say, going to different shops like Bed Bath and Beyond or Home Goods or the Spirit Halloween and seeing sections where there's a Ouija board floor mat, Ouija
Mm.
Mm.
board placemats and cups and things. I don't even want to buy that.
No.
Just keep me away. I don't need any kind of I will put cobwebs, spider webs all up and down through my house, mummified things, whatever. But a cup with even a picture of a Ouija board on it, no, thank you.
This
No
is the
ham, no
closest
ma'am.
that I'll get, which is probably not great because it's a real planchette. The
Yikes!
little
It is sweet though.
Funko Pop is a working planchette,
Oh
um,
gosh.
holding a tiny Ouija board. And
Yeah.
Brian got this. So, taking after Mika from
Never. Do not put my name in the same sentence as
Oh,
Mika or Micah from Paranormal Activity.
from paranormal, yeah, that
Ooh,
he was the
he's a
absolute worst.
doozy of a partner. Not
Awful.
not a good
Awful,
guy.
awful.
Terrible,
Brian,
terrible.
Um
yeah. Brian, do you have an experience from Salem that was top tier,
Yeah,
or was it the same as Jamie's?
no, I really liked the Witchboard Museum. I liked walking around the shops. Seeing a
Mhm.
lot of the old homes was very cool and spooky, and some of the
Yeah.
stories. We did a haunted tour, and
Oh,
those
great.
stories were pretty spooky. And then we also did the Salem Witch Trials Museum, the Salem Witch
Yep.
Museum.
Mhm.
Um, it was very 70s, and I loved it. Uh, but informative. You see what parallels the Crucible, what was
Mhm.
changed for the play the Crucible, and things of that nature. I also found that it's very ironic because like the point of the witch trials and why we learn about them is the hysteria, the idea of putting fear in a group of people, what it's like to like
Mhm.
believe something that's not true, rioting, like all that kind of stuff. Um, and the point is that they were not witches and they were wrongfully accused, and all of that. Meanwhile, you go to Salem now, and all it is like witches live here, and witches. It's very
Yeah.
ironic. I mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not
Right, right,
criticizing
right.
for it. It's interesting. Um, but
Absolutely.
one of my favorite things, a little kitschy, but I really enjoyed it, is Jamie mentioned we went into those like little museums, like the Witchboard Museum, and like we did a Halloween like museum just with like little
Mm,
toys and trinkets and stuff from Halloween. Um, but one of my favorites was Count Orlok's Nightmare Gallery. Um, it's
okay.
essentially like a little mini walk through history of like monsters in horror movies.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it's
so
up your
they,
alley.
yeah, it was amazing. So they had, they had these big statues you to walk through, and then you start with the like oldest ones, and then you go into like all of the 1930s horror movies, and then you walk through, and
Mm.
then you just go through the slashers and all of like Exorcist and Carrie and like all of that stuff, and they did have the Monster Squad in there. Thank you very much. Um,
Beautiful.
Man,
uh, and it
someone is excited.
yeah, I was very
Right.
excited. But it also wasn't that busy, so we actually got to walk around, read all the plaques, things like that. That was super fun. I really enjoyed Count Orlok's Nightmare Gallery, and then we saw all the Hocus Pocus sites from the first one.
Oh yeah, for
So that was
sure.
fun too. But I had a great time. We were also there for a wedding, and the wedding was lovely. So like overall, we just had like a really fun time. We've talked about this. We would absolutely go back. What a
Yeah.
spooky fun time. We got these
Hmm.
super cool sweatshirts because it was a little chilly on the tour. Um,
Oh, okay.
at night. But yeah, we had a blast. We had some really good things to eat as well. Check out our TikTok. I posted a lot of the stuff there that we did. If you want to hear more, just write to us and I'll do a video on that. But we had a great time. I would highly suggest it. Um,
Hmm.
we
Yeah.
should we should record an episode from there. All three of us should go up.
Absolutely. I went when it was still pandemic-y times,
Mm.
Hmm.
but and it was in early October and the crowds were still just as big for everything that was Halloween. So it was really nice to see that everyone was still out and about.
Did you do any of the stuff that we just talked about?
I did the witch trial museum
Oh,
where
you
they
did.
reenact the
Yeah,
things and you go into the little dungeon and all
yeah.
that stuff and yes. I did that, saw a couple of the Hocus Pocus sites, definitely took a picture in front of the witch on the moon, the
Oh, the
bewitched.
Bewitched statue.
Yeah, the bewitched
Mm.
statue.
Mm.
Um and ate some really good food too because it's on the water and I love seafood and so I went and had I forgot what the name of the restaurant was, but had some great oysters over there because it was, right fresh off the water and yeah, it was a really fun time. I only stayed there for a day,
Oh,
so I
sure.
would definitely want to stay there longer and do more things because I want to go to some of the museums that y'all went to. I didn't get a chance to go over there. I
Mhm.
also didn't realize that y'all actually were going for a wedding. I thought
Oh,
that you
yeah.
were just going just to go.
It was
So it's
perfect.
yes.
It's been on our bucket list like for a long time, and this was
Yeah,
just like the wedding was on Friday, so we were just like, let's make a long weekend out of it. It was super fun.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was awesome. Well, let's get into some Halloween movies. And you give me your top 3 Halloween movies that are yes, every year I have to watch this. It's tradition. Jamie, do you want to start?
Oh man, truly, what an impossible task to
I
narrow it
know, I
down to
know.
only three. Um, but I so I have many, but I will only say three because I follow directions.
Come on,
Um,
directions.
all right, so a top one that truly gets me in the vibes. And Nikisha and I have talked a lot about it. This
Mhm.
actually, I believe, was Nikisha's Halloween costume from last year. But The Craft, I love that movie, man.
It's so
Again, speaking of
great.
witches, like I think this is the movie that like made me ever interested in anything
Oh,
like witch,
absolutely.
Wiccan. I was like, oh, how do I like how do I get into this? And then there was no follow up on my end. Um, but I love this movie. I love this movie. I love how, like, I mean, it just like feels like fall, whether or not it's actually fall, I don't know. But there's like
Mhm.
so many sweaters being worn and like chunky knits and like big black
Love a chunky
boots and
knit.
big loafers and like all of that.
Yeah.
It's just like this movie screams fall weather that I love. And I feel like that's like part of, getting in the mood is like the right weather. Um,
Absolutely. It's the best
I
part.
I also just want to say that I am obsessed with the term chunky knit.
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's a description of clothing.
Yeah, I've heard it
I
before,
didn't
but
make it up.
no,
Okay.
I've heard it before, but it always just it's very exciting to hear those words. I don't know why. I love a good chunky knit. I love like a good
Chunky.
fisherman sweater. Like I don't
Yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
chunky knit like Chris Evans in Knives Out. Would that be considered a chunky
hmm
knit? Maybe a
Mm.
medium
That feels
knit,
more fisherman-y.
fisherman-y, but I do love a
Yeah.
chunky knit. Anyway,
hmm
back to you, Jamie.
So yeah, I would say the craft really inspires the fall uh clothing vibe.
Yeah.
So that's my first one. Shall I
Yeah,
continue?
yeah, yeah. Keep
Into my
going.
next? Okay. So number two pick, you got to go with something ghosty.
You have to.
So again, this is also like pure nostalgia pick. Not only nostalgia. There are appropriate reasons, but I mean, can I keep you is a line that will stay with me
Oh
forever.
my gosh.
But I had to go
Yes.
with Casper. What
That's a great
a
choice.
wonderful, so good. Um, Everyone in this movie, including the ghosts, are attractive. Well, maybe not the uncles. But this was
All the
like Devon
ghosts?
Sawa in his in his prime.
Yeah.
I was already into him from Now and then you cast him
Fair.
in ghost to human form. But also Bill Pullman's in this movie, and he's kind of dreamboaty as the dad.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I agree.
he's great too. But man, I love this movie. I love Casper. He's adorable. And all the like ghosty gags and it's so sweet, and then it makes you sad, but then it gets really sweet again. Ugh, I love this
Mhm.
movie. I would also, I mean, the real estate like situation right now in this country is like pretty awful. I would absolutely take a deal on a haunted house to have a house.
Really?
So if anybody,
Whoa, 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 whoa,
knows of
whoa,
I
any
whoa,
think you
whoa,
need a
whoa,
Ouija
whoa,
board
whoa,
for
whoa.
real, then. We need to get you a
hey,
real
we
one.
can probably cut a deal. We can split the rent or mortgage payments, whatever. But like a house is a house.
I mean, that was a gorgeous house, to be fair.
Yeah.
It depends. Okay, I think we can make it work. As your husband, I think we can make it work in the house that is the Casper house. But like there are other houses like the Conjuring house or other like Amityville that I'm just not interested in purchasing.
I've driven by the real Amityville house, and it's really not that big of a deal. And I'm pretty sure someone's currently residing in it.
Sure, I'm
Yikes.
just saying that I mean I'm just saying that like not I,
Maybe not the Ropes Mansion. Now that we've learned that fires are set there,
Mm-mm.
fires have been set there periodically throughout when people have lived there. That's the house that Allison lives in Hocus Pocus. It's like haunted.
Oh. What?
Yeah, so like no one lives in there. Like it hasn't been occupied for years because like lots of people died in
Oh.
there.
we only did the
Okay.
outside, but I think you can tour it now. It's like one of the institutes there purchased it, and like, but no
hmm
one has lived there. Yeah, it's spooky
The
dooky stuff.
Peabody
Spooky.
Essex Museum, I think,
Yeah,
bought it, and then we toured the garden in the back, and it's very beautiful.
Oh.
Um, but yeah, so
Too many
maybe I
murders,
wouldn't
though.
live in that home, but like Conjuring people, like call me. Let's see if we can work out something.
I can't. Lorraine, please, from the Ouija board, tell us what the deal is.
yeah, yeah. If we move
Uh,
into a haunted, like what's supposed to be haunted, like you better not bring a Ouija board in.
Absolutely
Yeah.
not. I'm not insane. I just want a good deal on a house.
Right. Just leave the spirits, like let them do their thing. But as
Do
long as there
you?
is no entranceway into our world, then
Yeah.
we're good. If you need to bang on a
I
couple
I'm
tape
keeping my
cabinets,
soul.
right.
You had your chance.
And that has been haunted real estate. No.
Absolutely.
Oof.
Yes. Do you have a last one, Jamie, of your favorite?
Yeah. So this is like, it's so hard just to pick one.
I
But
believe
I
in you.
think okay. So I'm just gonna go with it. It's fine. So again, this is another movie that gives me a lot of nostalgia.
Hmm.
Also has a lot of very attractive people in this movie as well. Maybe not the namesake, but I don't know, with that black and white striped suit and that green hair, perhaps.
Maybe.
Um, perhaps. But I'm gonna have to go with Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And again, this isn't necessarily like a Halloween movie, but like it takes place during Halloween.
Hmm.
But you got more ghosts. I guess I got a thing for ghosts. You
Yeah.
got you got someone who identifies as strange and unusual, and I myself also identify as strange and unusual. So
Okay.
me and Lydia, we share a kinship.
Love it.
Um, but yeah, I mean, this movie is just wild. Um i i also like, I mean, I really like Michael Keaton. I like Michael Keaton as Batman. And I
Mm.
like that movie because it came out on my birthday, like the day I was born, so it was like the only cassette tape that we owned. But then I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I gotta see what other stuff, good old Batman's in. And then watched this movie and was like, what? It's just so wacky, but it's so fun. Everyone looks like they're having a
Yes.
great time.
Wait,
That possession.
you own the
What?
cassette tape?
The No, I owned Batman on VHS because my
Oh.
parents purchased it because it was the movie that came out on
Oh,
the day of
okay. That's
my
cute.
birth. Yeah, it is cute. Thank you.
Yes.
Um
Points for Brian.
but the possession scene at the dinner table is a classic.
Classic.
So much fun. And yeah, and now there's a whole musical that goes along with it, which is
Yeah.
also a very fun time. If you haven't been, it's really fun.
So good.
And yeah, I think those are my picks, and I will stand by them unless I change my mind later.
That's fine. You can make a separate TikTok on the other
All the
10
ones
on
that
your
didn't
list.
make the cut. Ooh, sorry.
Honorable mentions go to.
There's
For
a lot.
sure. That's a really good list and just reminds me of how we are all the same age because of the movies that we watched growing up and what holds near and dear to our hearts. Uh, but I will say mine is kind of similar, but I will say my absolute movie, which is not a movie, but a movie that I will watch every single year, is it's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, because
Mm.
it's classic. And it would always come on, when we all used to have cable, it would come on what, like PBS or ABC, one of those
Mm.
channels all the time. And I just remember sitting and watching it with my parents. And so that is, I now own the whole uh Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas Charlie Brown holiday set on DVD.
Aw.
So still to this day will watch each and every one of them on the day.
I love that. I love that
uh
so much.
Yes, and they're just so cute, you know. What was the other movie we watched and they talked about Charlie Brown? Oh, Charlie Brown is an asshole. He's not an asshole. He's my favorite.
Oh,
So
trick or treat.
Trick or treat,
trick
yeah.
or treat. Yes. Uh
Oh.
yes. And so then the next movie, I'm gonna cheat a little bit because it is hard to choose three. But AMC, and again, when you had cable moment, AMC would have these horror fests. And so they would
Hmm.
just play horror movies nonstop 24/7 for the entire month of October. And so I would keep my channel on I would keep my TV on that channel, and I would watch they would do all of the 80s 90s slasher movies. So they would always be playing, either Halloween or Friday the 13th or The Omen or,
Mm.
Chucky, all those things. So I'm just going to wrap my second choice into any 80s, 90s slasher movie. I will binge that whole series, that whole chain, uh, because it's just great to sit there. And it's nice too. When I was younger, similarly to Jamie's rise to Halloween fandom, I was afraid of everything, and my sister would make me watch the Chucky movies when I was little, and I was always terrified because I had a lot of porcelain dolls in my house.
Oh
Um,
no.
Ugh.
yes,
Oh
it was
no.
the thing was
Why?
I don't know. My parents got them for me, and I just had them. I used to sleep with them, and then after my sister
Oh,
made me watch those movies, mm-mm.
it's so funny. Like I didn't even. We've watched so many horror movies. I didn't even think that they were yours and gifts. I imagine you like they were just here and we got
Oh no,
here. I was like, oh yeah,
no,
of course. Like
So
that's
upsetting.
not how the real world works. They were gifts to you. That makes a lot more sense.
exactly.
Yeah. You know what? Ignore me. I'm so sorry.
Oh, well, I didn't know for a long time that we had an actual attic in our house
Mm.
because my
Oh.
house is one story, and so there
Mm.
wasn't, but we had one, and so my dad would store some things in there, and I just remember after being scared out of my mind at one of my dolls late at night that he just put all my dolls in the attic just so that I didn't have to worry about it anymore. So I appreciate that, Dad.
That's funny.
But now that's my go-to watch. Let's watch Chucky. It's funny now. It's nostalgic now, even though it scared me as a young kid. But now I'm older and wiser and can handle killer dolls. So let's have at it for the season. And my last one. This is a recent movie that I have put in my Rolodex of movies, and it's Coraline. And
Ooh.
I
Oh,
just
that's such a
love the
good pick.
aesthetic. Yeah, and I'd never watched it when it first came out in the middle aughts, but I watched it during the pandemic and thought, oh, this is amazing. I need to watch this all the time. This is the right amount of spooky, creepy, and with a good storyline. And so, yeah, Coraline is now one that I absolutely have to watch. And I also love, what is it? Stop animation,
Mhm.
claymation.
Mhm.
That's aesthetically pleasing to me to watch.
Yeah.
So anything that's in that style of movie making, I thoroughly enjoy. So
Yeah,
Coraline for
those
me for the win.
that's such a good pick. Like those movies, the stop motion
Mhm.
animation movies like Corpse
Hmm.
Bride, that Night Before Christmas, but also Paranorman.
I've
Like
never
the
seen
oh,
Paranorman.
you would
Yeah, I haven't
love
seen
it.
that one.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. But here, I have a quick Coraline story. I saw
Yes.
Coraline in 3D in movies, but I
Oh,
wasn't feeling well, and it turned out I had like 100-degree fever while I was in the movie theater. So I'm watching
what?
Coraline, which is already a crazy movie. I'm like
Trippy.
sweating. I think like I'm tripping. It's in 3D because I'm like having a fever dream, and like Coraline was such a
Oh,
wild experience for me. It's one, the content of the movie is just wacky wild, and then
right.
on top of that, like I'm like sweating bullets. I have this fever. Like I just like I can't keep it together. And then it was wild. Well, it was a wild experience. That's all I have.
That I mean, but even though you're probably miserable in the moment, it would probably be really fun to watch that in some form of a trippy state because it is
Sure.
so kooky.
Yeah.
And for it to be in 3D too, I'm sure your mind was just
No,
going
not okay. It
wild.
was there was a terrible train ride home. It
Oh,
was
Oh
subway
stop.
ride.
god.
All right, well, Brian, tell us your
Oh,
three movies.
yeah, sure. So kind of going off of what you said, Nikisha, uh Charlie Brown is an asshole. Um, I love Trick or Treat.
Mm-hmm.
Trick or Treat really gets me into the Halloween spirit. I was talking to Jamie the other day because we're married, and not the only reason. Um, but I think this is maybe controversial, maybe a hot take.
Mm-hmm.
I think Sam is my favorite slasher. I
Okay.
Interesting,
I don't
interesting.
know if you can even consider him a slasher. He's got like a body count of one in that movie.
Right.
Like, I think he
Technically, yeah.
he only kills what's her name at the beginning, the
Mm-hmm.
Leslie Bibb character. Spoiler alerts for Trick or Treat.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like watching over everything throughout the movie, and then he doesn't kill what's his name at the end. He lets the like
Yeah.
the kids that
Bus
he
Bus
killed,
driver.
driver.
yeah, the bus driver.
Hmm.
So like, I think it's debatable to call him a slasher or not because, but he has rules, I guess, like some others that have rules. But like, I just love it. I just love what he represents. Like that he's just there to like make enforce the Halloween rules. His
Yeah.
his pumpkin he face. He's a pumpkin person. It's just weird. Anyway,
Pumpkin person.
I love that movie. It just really the vibe of that movie is just so October, and I
Hmm.
know it takes place on the 31st of October, but like man, I love it so much.
That's great.
Spooky.
My spooky indeed, spooky dookie. Um, the second movie, Hocus Pocus. Again, we're millennials. All the movies
Yeah.
that you said, I totally am on board with. For me, Hocus Pocus like is quintessential October watch. Um, uh, I'm so happy that we went to Salem and we could see all those spots. We got the sequel, and
Hmm.
I'm just like, I just Hocus Pocus really just gets me into that Halloween spirit. And not only because it's spooky, but like the three of them are just so having so much fun, and it's so much fun to watch someone else have fun on Halloween. Like even
Yeah.
if it's just acting and what those are my I just love it so much. Um,
Absolutely.
and then my third is a real toss up. I love watching the Universal monster movies.
Hmm.
Frankenstein, Wolfman, Dracula. Those like really feel like quintessential October watching. Um, so I was thinking of picking Frankenstein, but for nostalgia purposes, I'm gonna pick the Monster Squad.
I
Um,
was gonna if
It's
Monster Squad
like
was
if
not on
you
your
don't,
list.
what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I mean, what I find most interesting about the Monster Squad is that it and we talked about this in the Monster Squad episode. Um they basically had to they could use the universal monsters, but they couldn't use like the universal designs. So
Mm-hmm.
they
Hmm.
had to actually like um go around that by basically creating their own version of these monsters, and to me they're iconic. Growing up with those, it just gets me into that mood. Especially, I think something that also is at least two of the three of my movies, it's told from the point of view of children, and I just love Halloween movies that are told from the point of view of kids because like Nikisha mentioned it in like episode like a month or two ago. Maybe it was the urban legend episode, um
Yeah. Hmm.
where you talked about the idea of just like it's just a time where like you're just out trick or treating, and like when watching the 90s slashers, it's just like I feel very similar to that. It feels like a time of like you had no responsibility. Halloween was just a night for mischief, the spookiness, the fun, the candy.
Hmm.
And that's what like Halloween movies from kids' point of views do for me. Like you said, Jamie Casper, like you said, Nikisha, even Charlie Brown, like just
Yeah.
all home run for me. So those are the three that like really get me into the Halloween spirit.
Awesome. Well, speaking of candy, y'all tell me what's your favorite Halloween candy of choice? I don't feel like there's
Mm-hmm.
a lot. Maybe there is. I mean, as far as candy that is specifically will only be for the fall Halloween,
Time
season.
period. I
Yeah.
mean, I will say one of my favorite memories growing up as a kid,
Hmm.
when I moved to like a suburban town, trick or treating like became more accessible because before that I grew up
Yes.
in New York and like grew up in an apartment building, and when my parents took me trick or treating, I was going door to door in the apartment like
Inside.
condo that
Hmm.
they that they lived in.
Yeah.
So that didn't feel like the full, I mean, being a kid living in New York, that felt like the full experience. Leaving that and then going door to door like I had seen in the movies, then I felt like I was like doing something that like only happens in movies. So
Yep.
that was very unreal. However, I will never forget, and I truly strive. I hope that I can become rich so that I too can do this and provide for others in the ways that I was provided. There was that,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys had this, but in my town there was the one house on like one corner that always carried full size candy bars that she gave away. It was like some older woman who gave out
Yes.
full size, I think it was like crunch bars, which also
Mhm.
like love. Like
Yes.
full size. You had to
Yes.
get there at a certain time. Otherwise, she would obviously run out. But like when
Mhm.
you knew this information, it was like,
First
this was
stop.
so, yeah, you were like, okay, we have to like run from school to get all the way down the few blocks over to this person's house. But like we can probably hit up
Mhm.
a few on the way. And yeah, man, it was that sticks out to me. There was that,
Yeah.
and also seeing it happen in Hocus Pocus when like Allison's family is like having that big party. There was also a family that like hosted a Halloween party and very similarly allowed people into like their entryway. But it was like
Mhm.
you like walk in and they also had like this thing in the middle, so they were kind of like corralling people like in a circle and then back out, and you
Yeah.
like walked into like the entryway of like the foyer of their house, and they had like creepy crawly and like spooky things, and you could just like take candy and then leave, and it was like
Love that.
the fanciest thing. I was just like, man, that those are things I will never forget. Even though like as a kid I like didn't really like growing up in the suburbs,
Yeah.
I'll never forget Halloween in the suburbs. They do it up.
It's a whole different thing. And y'all know I love
Mhm.
Bob's Burgers, and I will always bring it up in everything because it's relevant
Yes.
to everything in the world. But there is an episode called Full Bars,
Oh, I
and
know that
it is
episode. Yeah.
yes. It's the Halloween episode where first off, Jean is dressed as Queen Latifah, which is the quintessential. That's when I just fell in love with it because it was the best costume ever. It's also a reminder of how to not do blackface, which is also just a great thing. So Bob's Burgers is the best. But in that episode, they they live in kind of a New Yorkie. It's in kind of Jersey, and so it's the same kind of setup as New York. You know, the trick or treating isn't as accessible because they're not in a suburb. So they take a ferry to what's King's Head Island, and they go and trick or treat over there, and it's full suburbs, and they're screaming at the top of their lungs because they get full size candy bars, and that's the whole episode is them just going around getting full size candy bars from this suburb, and it's wonderful. So that's awesome that you had basically that exact same experience
Also,
moving out of
speaking
New
of
York.
urban legend, I feel like
Mm.
that's an urban legend for some kids. Like
The full size
the full
candy
size,
bar.
like a
Yeah.
positive urban legend, like the full
Yeah.
size candy bar, as opposed to, you know, like razor blades in your apples. You know what I mean?
Right.
Mhm.
They're like, okay, we're gonna expect razor blades, but full bars.
Yeah,
That's magic.
yeah.
That's never gonna happen.
Yeah, it was pretty epic.
Yes, I will say, as far as just favorite candy is concerned, because this will not be up for discussion. Candy corn is the absolute best. I don't
No.
understand
Boo.
why people do not like it. It
Mm-mm.
is a
Mm-mm.
wonderful treat that is delightful. They have an autumn mix where there's
Ugh.
like the little pumpkins with the candy corn, and then they have a little maple candy corn, and it's the best thing. It's the best thing.
So for
So
all of you
period.
Mm-mm.
The
listening,
end.
this is Nikisha's last episode. Thank you so much. This is now just talking horror with Jamie. Uh,
Well, let me also let me say this. There, in Hamilton, our hair person also enjoys candy corn, but he likes to find the candy corns that are in different flavors because there's different flavors.
oh, like the
And
chocolate
so,
ones.
well, there's a
Ugh.
Thanksgiving
Well,
bag
boo.
of candy corn, and so the flavors
Mm-mm.
are what cranberry sauce, turkey, gravy, uh
You took something
green
that's already
beans.
gross and then you made it grosser.
That's
Why? Who is
disgusting.
this
Now,
for? Who is
I
this
will say,
for?
I
I know
will try
exactly.
it, but it's disgusting.
But that's the thing. It's we he made a whole thing of it, and he laid it out. He separated everyone, labeled which ones were which,
That's amazing.
and we all tried it, Fear Factor style. You know, like, what's this going to taste like?
Oh
And it
Mm-mm.
man, Fear
absolutely
Factor.
tasted disgusting. But that's because regular candy corn is legit, and you just have to stick with that recipe, and that's it.
Mm-mm.
And
We
that's
are
all I have to
a
Mm-mm.
say about that.
anti candy corn house. You can bring your BYO candy corn because we're not providing it.
I will. I will
Yeah. I
bring
also know
bags of it.
Brian also hates what are the
Peeps.
yes.
I
I
think
love
Peeps. No,
peeps.
Peeps are not marshmallows. Peeps are disgusting. The sugary coat they have around it is gross. Peeps are not for me. I also didn't grow up eating Peeps. Like we don't. There's not like Hanukkah Peeps or like Passover Peeps.
That's
Like
fair.
Yeah, Peep Company.
Peeps.
Why don't you
Yeah,
expand your
they're the
peeps?
Passover Peeps. No, I hate Peeps. I think Peeps are gross. Uh, Candy
Okay.
corn Peeps forever on my do not disturb list, or I don't know.
Do not
do not
disturb.
do not eat
That's
list.
funny.
Okay, so then what is your favorite candy, Brian?
For
I can guess. I'm gonna guess. Can I guess?
Yes.
Yeah, of
I
course.
think Brian's favorite Halloween candy is gonna be the pumpkin shaped Reese's peanut butter
Ding,
cups.
ding, ding,
Am I
ding,
right?
ding. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
Outside of
cute.
Halloween, it's Reese's peanut butter cups. Inside
But
of
it has to
Halloween,
be.
yeah, it's the pumpkin. And sometimes they're too soft and it's gross in your mouth, but I still love it. Um, the best peanut butter cups are the dark
Mhm.
chocolate Trader Joe's peanut butter cups. Those are the best
Mhm.
peanut
Oh
butter
yeah.
cups. We buy them in the huge things and then they're gone
Yep.
after a day or two. And those are the best ones. Um, but I there's something nostalgic and wonderful about the Reese's peanut butter cups that like milk chocolate and like that like weird mealy fake peanut butter taste in them. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love
Mm-hmm.
it. Yeah, 100%. No questions asked. Don't give me pennies. Don't give me Smarties.
Ugh,
Don't give
why?
me
Yeah.
Well, I'll eat Smarties. I'll eat
toothbrushes.
your Smarties.
I
No one
like
should do
Smarties,
that.
but
That's rude.
they're not my favorite. You just get so many of them, and it's just like it's too much. But like,
You need chocolate.
give me
Yes.
give me
Oh, I love
Twix, give
chocolate.
me Snickers. I'm not a huge
Well,
Milky
you
Way
said,
fan,
yeah.
but throw in those pumpkin shaped Reese's peanut butter candies.
Yes.
Yes.
And that has been Candy Talk. Oh wait, no, I didn't say mine. Um, although you did say I do love Twix, and I can
Oh, okay.
appreciate those grab bags where it's like the mini versions of
Of
Mm.
everything,
everything.
Twix and
Yes.
Kit
Those are
Kat and
nice.
yeah, Snickers, all of that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a real toss up between Twix and Twix and oh my god, why did my brain just like short circuit in that moment?
Twix and
Twix
Twix.
and Kit Kats. Ugh, those are two
Okay.
Oh,
things.
Kit
Okay.
Kats.
Yeah.
Good one.
Yeah. I also love Nerds as a non-chocolatey thing.
Okay.
Just like the very small boxes they usually have for Halloween.
Yeah. You don't need
Single
anything bigger
flavor,
than
but
that.
that's
Yeah.
I mean, I will eat one bigger than that if that's offered to me. I won't be mad about that.
Oh,
I
that's
I
you
also kind
love
of like the cookie
nerds.
and cream. I do love Nerds. I kind of like the cookie and cream Hershey's, even though I
Oh,
know
those are
like the white
good.
chocolate is like not real. Yeah, Brian, are you making a face at me?
No, I actually really
Oh,
like it too, but I can only eat one.
okay.
I can only really split a bar with you. Like
Mm.
a full bar makes my stomach a little bit like queasy because like it's not
Mm-hmm.
real. But like I would share a bar with you, no question. But only
It's
one
very
bar would
sweet.
share.
Thank you.
Anything for you, baby.
And that has been Candied Parlor Talk. on talking on talking horror. So now y'all know what candies to send all of us.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
we'll all be expecting all of the candies in our future PO box.
Yeah. Don't send us circus peanuts.
Oh,
Don't send
ew.
us don't
I
send
mean,
us
The
those
hard
wax
candies.
wax
Mm-mm.
things.
I do like. I
Yeah.
also like Butterfingers and Paydays.
Oh,
What's a
paydays.
payday?
That's
Pay,
with peanuts, right?
yeah, it's like the
Oh
peanut
yeah.
bar.
Oh, I
Okay.
mean, you'll literally eat anything that's peanut butter or
Yes.
peanuts.
I mean,
If we have children and they have a peanut allergy, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
oh no.
I don't know what I'll
You're
do.
like, "Oh, we're returning this child. Thank
Yeah, peanut
you."
or seafood allergy, like
You done.
you done. Like
Actually, that's real. Seafood
like
allergy. Mm-mm.
like weird cult. Go ahead and take it.
Offer them up like Rosemary's Baby. Just
Yeah.
here you go. Here you go, guys. Fantastic. Well, I'll open this to anyone who wants to start. Do you have any favorite traditions or past things that you do on the day before the day?
Can I bring up a question?
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, I loved trick or treating, like loved
Mm-hmm.
it. And when you're a kid, you go with your parents. And then you get older, and there's kind of that like coming of age where like your first year going by yourself, and it's like, or
Yeah.
with you and your friends, and it's very exciting. Does that even happen anymore? Like, I just think I feel like that was like a
Ooh.
'90s, like '80s, like kids thing where like we
Fever dream.
yeah, fever dream. Because like we would also like take our bikes out on the weekend. My parents wouldn't see me all day, and then I'd come home
Right.
at night like dirty and like bloody, like elbows, like I fell off my
Scabbed up.
bike, or
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
And then it's just like here's dinner. Like go wash up. Here's dinner. Like here's some band aids and stuff like that. Like does I don't know like or I don't even know if I can be that type of a parent with my anxiety. Like you know what I mean? Like
Sure.
am
Yeah.
I going to keep my kids from that kind of like freedom and like learning to like figure out things on your own and make mistakes on your own? Like like I guess I want to open that up to
Hmm.
you because like that was a big part of my childhood going trick or treating by myself, and I want to see if that was the same for you, and if it was like how would you approach it now in a world that is totally different?
That's a great question. And kind of had that same experience when I was younger. My parents taking me and then me finding something else to do with my friends. I don't think we necessarily went trick or treating on
Okay.
our own, but as we got older and I grew up in a very churchy church Christian household, they had Hallelujah nights on Halloween.
Mm.
So instead of us doing anything Halloween related, we would all go to the church and it would just kind of be a big party. And so that's what the, 14, 15, 16 year olds were doing, or
Mhm.
that's with our friend groups. We would just
Sure.
go there and there will be games and there will be candy and the little
There were
kids,
probably
which this
candy corn too.
I mean, I'm just saying it's a great time with candy corn. But what always just baffled me, and this is a quick side note, is the fact that the little kids, they would dress up in Halloween costumes and go to this thing which is not supposed to be Halloween related, it's supposed to be in place of Halloween, and that just really was very confusing to me, but whatever, it's fine. My parents let me do both, so I'm happy that
Yeah.
they let me trick or treat when I was younger and dress up, and then, I we went and did this. But I think to your point, Brian, it would be hard now to do those things only because of how technology is. We could all run amok literally because no one could contact us in a sense, as
True.
Mm.
far as I wasn't carrying around a cell phone all the time, that it wasn't attached to me. And my parents just had to hope that I was where I said I was and that I would come home when I said I would come
Mhm.
home. But now, if you do have a kid, whenever you decide to give them the access to have a phone and whatever, and you can contact them and make sure you know where they are, then that's you can have more of a hold on them in that way. Uh, I would definitely let my kids go and do whatever they want to do, but it would also be because of the safety of knowing that if I needed to contact them, I could. But if I couldn't contact them, I don't know how much I would let them just run amok
Sure.
Mm.
in this world. But yeah, what about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there would have to be like trust established between myself and my future spawn in order to like feel like more comfortable. I mean, I also think about like my parents were pretty overprotective, but like they also let me go out. I mean, I think I had a cell phone when I was like 11. So
Mm,
knowing that there was some way for me to like stay in touch with my parents, but they also were like pretty they would want they were the kind of parents my mom would want to like talk to other people's moms and like make
make
sure they were
sure.
on the
Mm-hmm.
same page kind of thing. uh
Sure.
they would I'm trying to think of like other stuff, but like that's like what it makes me think of with like an agreed upon like you'll be home by X time, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So and I mean I think I trick or treated like through an age that probably was socially inappropriate because I think I went through like through high school because like then you were just like we were old enough and like doing our own thing and like
Of
able to
course.
and I was like maybe we shouldn't have gone trick or treating but like whatever I had fun so who cares.
And you got the candy.
um yeah and like free candy.
Yeah.
But yeah I feel like it would definitely depend on like what the age is. I don't know what age I would feel totally comfortable with like my own children. Like, and it depends like how close do we live? Like, what's the town situation? Like,
Right, of
I
course.
felt pretty safe in my town when I was growing up, and I feel like my parents also felt pretty safe in my town. So it's not like they never, I mean, I also was younger, but I never went trick or treating by myself when I lived in the city in New York. So, like,
Mhm.
I don't know if it was like, being a certain age, them trusting me more, them knowing that I was still accessible, all of these powers combined, knowing that I
Yeah.
wasn't like a dumb kid and like pretty responsible, that's these are all factors that I feel like would play into it. So, yeah, but I feel like trust has to be like a pretty big piece of that. Like I got to trust my kid if they're like doing
Absolutely.
something shady and like I find out that feels like, you know,
You cracking the
you're
whip.
grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're
You said
grounded.
you're
No trick or
grounded.
Yeah,
treating.
I'll have to dress up as Indiana Jones as an adult.
Okay.
God, yes. I will say on our Halloween realty side, I definitely think about and what triggered this was you talking about how you felt safe in your neighborhood, Jamie, is when I eventually buy a house, it's I am definitely basing it on if it's an area where I feel like my kids could go trick or treating
That's
in.
that's a good like
That's fair.
that's a
Like, do you
good
feel do you feel like your
Yeah,
kids are like safe walking around? Like,
right. Like I
that's
want to
totally valid.
be in a cul-de-sac where I have minimal requirements, just someplace I can park my car in the
Cul-de-sacs
driveway.
only.
And cul-de-sacs only. I need a front yard, a backyard, a driveway, and a cul-de-sac. And you know the yards, just because I want to put up my 16-foot skeleton. That's
yeah,
Oh,
truly
yeah.
totally.
How fast do you think those sold out at Home Depot?
my
Like,
gosh. Well, what I think I had mentioned this, but I went to Spirit Halloween in August and things were already sold
Yeah, that's
out,
wild.
crazy.
which is wild. But I mean, yeah, definitely would base where I buy a home at if I feel that I can take my kids trick or treating or they can walk around the neighborhood and be fine and be safe
Mhm.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other
Agreed.
Halloween thingies that you guys maybe do now or want to do in the future as far as
Mm.
traditions as you become a family, a growing family?
I mean, definitely haunted houses. Like, I
Mm,
want
mhm.
that to become a staple in our Halloween traditions. I know we collectively had to pivot last year and found another one very
Yeah.
quickly that we were all able to attend, and it was very fun. So yeah, just gotta scope out all the options, but that's definitely I'd love the one that's like the big outdoorsy ones where it has like a mix of things. You could do like
Mm,
a
mhm.
haunted hay maze thing,
Yeah.
like all that kind of stuff. So more haunted houses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brian, do you have something?
Um, I definitely want to decorate the house. Like, I want to do like a graveyard in the front yard, and I want like when kids
Mhm.
come to trick or treat, I want them to like get like that full atmosphere, like jack o' lanterns and all of that stuff. And I will probably
Yeah.
be the grumpy guy who's just like, "Get off my jack o' lanterns!" Like don't blow them out, or Sam will get you. But like, I I
Yes, please.
definitely I definitely want to like do the house up, like maybe even like decorate the foyer so at least when you open the door for the kids, like it's a spooky area.
Oh, so we're
Mhm.
getting a home with a foyer.
We might have to just for Halloween.
Foyer and parlor.
Mm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's also the parlor. 100%.
Ah, yes, of
Yeah,
course.
double duty. But yeah, I think that those are big ones there, and I'm like family costumes, like when they're little, like doing that,
Yes.
and then
Mm.
just like whatever they want to do when they're like 9 or 10, like we'll just like go all in. And then at some point, like I'll probably still go trick or treating with them, but like we'll stand on the curb while they go up to the house. You know what I mean? And then like they come
Mhm.
back to the sidewalk, and you go to the next one. My parents did that, where like they'd go with us, and then you'd go to the door and back and whatnot. There was one year where I had Hebrew school on Halloween, and they made me go, and it was very late. But my mom and dad like let me go trick or treating like later in the night. but they
Mm.
came with me. So like I was dressed as the Riddler, of course, and Jim Carrey's the Riddler. My mom tried to make me one, and I hated it, and I threw a fit. So
Mm.
we went to Party City, and I got like a Riddler outfit. Um,
Love that.
but yeah, but they took me at like it was like 9 o'clock at night. Like late for a Tuesday night in the suburbs. That was Halloween. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was nice. And then one year, oh, one year, one year, I when I was older, I had two masks and a reversible jacket, so I went to every house twice.
That's actually pretty
So
genius.
I did that,
Ooh.
and then another really great Halloween was in New York City. I was in my
Mhm.
20s. My best friend Jay and I dressed up as Hall and Oates.
Oh,
We
yes.
went to the Halloween parade in the village, and it was pouring rain out. So we're in the Halloween like soaking wet, and then we ended up going to Crocodile Lounge and drying off, and for some weird crazy reason, anytime they Hall and Oates was on their playlist like a lot that night for whatever reason, and the bartender thought it was so funny that we were dressed up as Hall and Oates that anytime Hall and Oates came on, um, they would serve us for free for like those 2 minutes, and
That's the
What?
so
best.
Jay and I would like pound like vodka sodas or tequila ginger ales or
Yeah.
whatever it is, um, until that song was over, and then we do shots with the bartender, and then like a half hour later, like another Hall Note song would come on, and then we would do that too, and then we actually ran into college friends by accident at the bar, and then we went to another Halloween party with them, and then we ended up at like a diner at like 7 in the morning. It was just a wild, crazy, super fun Halloween night. Like
That sounds amazing.
nothing crazy, nothing terrible. But I used to go to all
Mhm.
these like super fun Halloween parties with friends in the city, like big
Mhm.
ones, because like some of my friends belong to like charities and organizations that would throw Halloween parties at these like big expensive places to raise money. And
Ooh,
we used
yeah.
to go there, so
Mm.
that was super fun. So those are some of my
Ooh.
memories for sure.
Awesome. Well, last question I want to ask on our Halloween, I was going to say hullabaloo. Oh,
Yeah.
hoopla. Halloween hullabaloo hoopla. Your favorite costume. But while you think
Mm.
about that, I want to share one other thing that I did when I was younger that I think more that should happen more. Uh, I went to a Catholic school, just Christian all around, okay? But they had something called a haunted breezeway, and our school was in a semicircle, and there was like a little awning over the whole thing, so each classrooms were all next to each other in this semicircle. And so what they would do is they would cover everything and make it into this little haunted walkway you can go through. And so they would invite, it would be open from like 5 to 9, and everyone can bring their kids, all the students and stuff, and you can dress up, and they would have games on one side of the schoolyard, and treats and all this stuff. And then you can walk through this little haunted breezeway, and they would hire actors to scare the little
Cool.
kids. And I remember specifically that every year they would, at the very end, when you have to do the final scare, it would be this guy with a real chainsaw.
Oh.
And it was just like the best thing, because my school was what, kindergarten through 8th grade,
Mm,
and they would do this every year. And so it was also nice to kind of grow up with that. And so when I was in elementary school, it was the scariest thing ever, and we all were just like, oh my god, we survived the guy with the chainsaw and blah. And then you get into middle school, and you're like, oh, this is lame, but yeah, we're still gonna go, and blah 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 blah. And you're like talking to all the actors and stuff. But I just thought that it was so crazy but fun that this Catholic school said, yeah, we're just going to do up this Halloween and change our entire campus into this whole kind of Halloween party with the little haunted house
mm.
thing. And I think it would be so cool, like if your high school like transformed their entire campus into a haunted house. Like, wouldn't that be the most fun? I think so many
Yeah.
people
That sounds
would
amazing.
be into that, and go and do
Mhm.
those things. So, y'all buy a school so you can make a haunted
Ah,
house.
yes. Of course.
No, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we have to purchase a. house with a foyer for parlor talk that's haunted,
Yes.
Hmm.
and then we'll get to school.
Absolutely. So, Jamie, what's your favorite Halloween costume that you have had?
As a child, I have an adorable dog costume where I was like
Mm,
a Dalmatian, I think.
nice.
Um, but I do continue to dress up as an adult. So as an adult, I would also say I was a huge fan of Quail Man last year. That was a
Yeah.
top tier costume.
That was an amazing costume. I was hoping you would bring that one up because that was so good. What about you, Brian?
So I used to work at this resort in Maine, and they in October they would do a Halloween weekend where they would transform the entire resort into like a Halloween town where there'd
Mm.
be a haunted hayride outdoors, and then there's the haunted house, and there's an area for like all the costume contests, and then there's an area for like pumpkin carving and arts and crafts and stuff like that. That's just, and they do a Halloween parade where everyone dresses up their golf carts and something, and they do like a parade, and you win prizes for like the float. Anyway, it's really, really, really fun.
Yeah.
I mostly just kind of like was a guest and visited it on that weekend, but one year I actually helped and worked it, and we all dressed as pirates, but we zombified ourselves. So we had like the
Mm.
zombie makeup pirates, and we would kind of walk around the entire resort, like we were cursed and looking for treasure and stuff like that. That was super fun. So I would probably say that just for the full like experience of it all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like similar to Brian, when I moved to New York, I have a friend of mine who I went to college with, but she moved to New York before I did. And so she would always have these epic Halloween parties in her
Mm.
apartment. And there was also rooftop access. So it was just a
Mm.
fun time all around. But one of the costumes that I was most proud of is that I dressed up as Storm from X-Men.
Yes.
Ooh.
Full on, had the little like X-Men symbol belt around my waist and a
Hmm.
cape and, this all black corset and the hair. And I even bought, the contacts that are white, but
Yeah.
I'm also just kind of like a wussy puss, and I couldn't even get them into my eyes because it was just so painful. I couldn't too much. But yeah, I was super proud of that one.
That's
It was
amazing.
a fun
That
time.
must have been amazing. I want to see pictures
Yeah.
that you have.
Yeah, I'll have to scrape one up. I think I might have like put one on Instagram at some point, so I'll have to find it. But
Cool.
yeah, it was a fun time. Grand. Well, do we want to rank Halloween, everyone? I think we're giving this what, tens across the board
Yeah, I think
for
so.
Tens
Halloween.
indeed.
Yeah, 10 overall, 10 for candy, 10 for dressing up, 10 for mischief,
Mm.
10 for the crisp air. I will give it a 1 when you have to wear your coat over your costume as you're a little kid.
Oh,
Oh, fair.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some
Not fun.
something that I'll do for my kids when they're growing up is we will make sure to incorporate like the costume like being warm so that they don't have to like wear their
Yes.
like Elsa costume with a jacket over the top, like
Cloak.
lame.
Mhm.
Like you'll be wearing like layers underneath.
Absolutely. Just some thermal
Lame.
wear
Yeah.
underneath and you'll be just fine.
Okay, can I ask one more question? How do people feel about candied apples?
That's a great question.
I like them in theory, and then in
In
practice, they
theory.
kind of make me nervous.
Because and you're just talking about like
Oh, they make you
candy,
nervous.
not chocolate
I'm just scared
covered.
that my teeth are gonna come out, but I want to be able to eat it. It
Sure.
just seems too
Yes.
hard. You know
Yeah.
what? I'm
Ditto.
done
But
here.
Nikisha, yeah, I'm talking about like when it's dipped in like, and it's the hard coat, and some and caramel
Yes.
apples as well are delicious. I'm just curious how people feel about those.
No, I echo Jamie with the candied, but if it's just the chocolate with the caramel apples,
Sure.
Yeah.
absolutely
Eating
every day,
caramel
all
makes
day.
me a little nervous. Did you ever have those caramel apple lollipops that were super popular?
Yeah.
Those
Yes.
mess people's mouths up. Like people who
Yep.
had like braces and stuff, like they got stuck. Like I'm not about that.
Oh, I broke my
No.
braces on lobsters.
What?
But that's for another holiday, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's Memorial
Yes.
Day.
Yeah.
We'll have to talk about the mechanics of that one because yes, great. I think that wraps up our. With that said, let's wrap up our Halloween hullabaloo, huzzah, everything that is Halloween. And we hope that you guys have a wonderful Halloween. Share with us what you did this season on our socials, on our TikTok. Follow us. Brian, where can they listen to us?
Sure, you can listen to us wherever podcasts are listenable. That includes things like Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and of course, Apple Podcasts. Rate and review us there. 5 stars, please.
And thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Halloween, everyone. Ooh.
Happy Halloween!